Every county keeps records: births, deaths, marriages, property deeds, paper proof that people lived, that they mattered, history reduced to ink and dates. But in Fairmont County, Georgia, there's a silence, not a missing page, not water damage, not a courthouse fire, something cleaner than that. Between 1847 and 1865, over 300 names simply stop appearing. No death certificates, no burials, no transfers, nothing. 300 people who were alive one year and legally non-existent the next, as if they stepped off the earth. At first, officials assumed clerical error, a sloppy clerk, lost ledgers, normal things. But then someone noticed the pattern. Every missing name shared one address, one place: Riverside Plantation, the largest estate in the county, white columns, manicured gardens, tour guides, and gift shops. Today, it's marketed as heritage. Field trips come through every spring, but ask about the families who once lived there, the workers who built the house, the children born in the quarters, and the answers get thin, vague, uncertain. The official story falls quiet, like the records themselves. No one could explain why an entire community vanished from history. Until decades later. A young historian opened an old attic trunk and found something that wasn't meant to survive. A leather case, dust-covered, locked. Inside were the names. All of them. To understand the disappearance, you have to understand plantation life. Riverside wasn't just farmland. It was a closed world, a system. Dozens of small wooden cabins lined behind the main house. No glass windows, no insulation, just rough boards and dirt floors. Families packed together, 6, 8, 10 people in a single room. At sunrise, the bell rang. At dark, it rang again. Work measured in cotton weight and punishment, not hours. Children weren't considered children. They were future labor, listed in ledgers like livestock, age, gender, value, nothing else. And yet, despite everything, life still happened there. Births, marriages, songs at night, church on Sundays, tiny pieces of normalcy. The plantation kept detailed records, quietly, obsessively: crop yields, tool repairs, weather, and people. Quarterly censuses, every name accounted for, which is why the historian noticed the problem immediately. 73 individuals listed in April 1847. Families grouped together, mothers beside children, grandparents, infants. Then, in the margin beside every single name, the same word, written in darker ink, transferred. Same month, same note, no destination, no bill of sale, no receipt. Just gone. Mass sales usually left paper trails. Money always left paper. But here? Nothing. It was as if the people hadn't been sold, or moved, or freed, just erased. And the more he looked, the more it felt deliberate, not loss, not accident, something planned, something quiet, something someone didn't want remembered. The historian began with the courthouse. Census rolls, tax assessments, church registries, anything that couldn't easily be destroyed. At first, everything looked normal, too normal. In 1840, Riverside listed 61 enslaved workers. By 1847, 73, a growing workforce, profitable, stable. Then 1848 arrived, and the number dropped to zero. Zero. An entire plantation with no labor force. Impossible. Fields don't harvest themselves. Cotton doesn't pick itself. Yet tax records showed business continuing as usual. Same profits, same exports, same yields. So who was working the land? Then came the strangest detail. By 1860, Riverside reported 82 workers again, more than before. But there were no purchase records, no transport logs, no auctions. It was as if a brand new population had appeared overnight. Different names, different ages. No connection to the earlier families, like someone had replaced the cast of a play and pretended the first group never existed. The church records told the same story. Dozens of baptisms in 1847, then 9 years of silence. No births, no burials, No weddings, nothing tied to Riverside. A spiritual blackout. Then suddenly, new names, new families, starting from scratch. The pattern was too clean, too precise. Communities don't vanish naturally. They leave traces, unless someone removes them. Intentionally, methodically, page by page, name by name. And that's when the historian stopped asking where they went and started asking a worse question. Who had the power to make 300 people disappear without anyone noticing? The answer didn't come from the plantation. It came from a different building entirely. 2 counties away, an old state institution, the Georgia State Lunatic Asylum, founded in the 1840s, expanded in 1849, funded, strangely, by a private donation from Riverside's owner, $12,000, a fortune at the time. The donation built something specific: farm facilities, fields, livestock pens, workshops. According to annual reports, patients worked the land as therapy, labor disguised as treatment. Then the historian noticed the admission statistics. Fairmont County, 68 patients in 1 year, from a population barely over 3,000. Statistically impossible, unless they weren't really patients. Old staff notes confirmed it. Diagnoses like idleness, disobedience, moral weakness, not illnesses, excuses. Entire families committed together, mothers, fathers, children, even infants. Signed off by the same local doctor, same magistrate, same month the plantation record said transferred. Assigned immediately to farm detail, field labor, no release dates, no discharge records, just numbers, not names, a closed system, no visitors, no questions, legally alive, practically erased, working land they'd never see their homes from again. The plantation kept producing cotton, the asylum got free labor. And on paper, those people simply ceased to exist. Not sold, not freed, just buried inside bureaucracy, hidden behind diagnoses, behind locked doors, behind paperwork no one thought to check. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't cruelty by accident. It was administrative, calculated, quiet, the kind of evil that wears a suit and signs forms. There was one last document, Nathaniel Wycliffe's will, filed after his death in 1867. Routine language, property to his wife, money to his children, debt settled. Then, near the bottom, a single instruction, Item 7. Destroy all personal ledgers and correspondence relating to estate operations between 1847 and 1856. Destroy, not archive, not store. Destroy, within 60 days. Verified by affidavit. A legal order to erase a decade. The exact decade the families disappeared. The historian read it twice, then a third time. Outside, the courthouse clock ticked softly. Paper shuffling, people talking. Normal life. As if nothing had happened. He visited the plantation one last time, walked past the tour groups, past the polished mansion, toward the trees at the edge of the property. There, hidden among the pines, were shallow depressions in the earth, unmarked graves, too few for the number who had lived there, which meant most weren't buried at all. No headstones, no records, no names, just absence. That was the final cruelty, not death, erasure. Because death leaves memory, erasure leaves nothing. Unless someone goes looking, unless someone opens an old trunk, unless a single piece of paper survives. Sometimes history isn't lost. Sometimes it's removed on purpose. And sometimes the only proof people ever existed is the space where their names should have been. In the end, there was no confession, no courtroom, no official apology. Just paper. Old paper, ledgers, census rolls, church books, admission logs, and the spaces between them. That's where the truth was hiding. Not in what was written, but in what wasn't. 300 names that should have existed, but didn't. Births that were never recorded. Deaths that never received markers. Families that left no descendants, because they were never meant to. Riverside Plantation didn't lose its workers. It erased them. Carefully, legally, quietly. Signed forms, filed documents, stamped approvals. No chains in sight. No violence on display, just bureaucracy. Ink can be cleaner than blood and sometimes far more permanent. The mansion still stands today. Fresh paint, guided tours, gift shop near the entrance. Visitors take photos under the oak trees. They hear about architecture, about cotton production, about Southern heritage, but they don't hear the numbers. They don't hear about the 73 transferred in 1 month, or the children labeled insane, or the families buried inside an institution miles away, because records were destroyed, on purpose, which means if that leather case hadn't survived, if one attic hadn't been opened, if one historian hadn't been curious, those people would be gone completely. Not just dead, forgotten. And maybe that's the part that lingers. History doesn't always disappear by accident. Sometimes it's edited, trimmed, sanitized, until only the comfortable parts remain. But the ground remembers, old paper remembers, and every so often, something slips through. A name, a date, a single line in the margin. Transferred, proof that someone was there, proof that someone tried to make sure we'd never know.